I've wasted a surprising amount of time in my life waiting to feel ready. Ready to start something, ready to send a message, ready to make a decision I already know I probably need to make. And the strange thing is, I never really feel ready. I just get better at explaining to myself why now isn't the right time. Sometimes I call it thinking things through, or I call it being careful, and sometimes I tell myself I just need a little bit more time. And somehow a game called Sekiro about a one-armed wolf shinobi guy fighting immortal samurai made me realize what I was actually doing. Or more so than ever before anyway. Because everyone who has played Sekiro probably knows the line, hesitation is defeat. It's one of the more iconic lines the game gives. And at first, I thought it was just a cool way of saying you need to play aggressively. But the longer I played, the more I realized the game wasn't really punishing me for being slow. It was punishing me for being uncertain. When I was still bad at Sekiro, like everyone else, I was constantly trying to create a perfect situation. I would back away, reevaluate, wait for a cleaner opening, or heal when I probably didn't need to. I'd try to reset the fight every time I got hit, instead of staying in it. And every time I did that, things usually got worse. The boss would recover, I would lose control of the rhythm of the fight, and suddenly I was just running around in circles, completely out of my mind and doing nothing, waiting to die. But the interesting part was that in the moment, this didn't feel like fear. It would more feel like caution, like intelligent caution. And I think that's why hesitation can be so difficult to recognize in real life, because it rarely announces itself as fear. It often looks much more reasonable than that. You'll tell yourself that you're waiting for more information, or thinking you need to think a little longer. You should probably make sure before you truly commit yourself to something. And sometimes that's true, but sometimes you've already fought enough. Sometimes you already know what the next step is going to be. You just don't want to experience the discomfort of taking it. I've had messages I've avoided answering for days that took less than 2 minutes to reply to. Like, I've delayed starting things because I wanted to know exactly how they would turn out before I began. And I think a lot of us do this. We imagine that confidence is supposed to come first as a sign of motivation. You need to build a lot of confidence before you start. And then that at some point we will feel certain enough, prepared enough, or fearless enough to finally act upon that thought. But confidence usually doesn't really work like that, I think. You don't become confident and then suddenly start doing difficult things perfectly. You do difficult things while feeling unsure and uncertain and insecure, and you'll probably do them pretty badly. You survive them, and then slowly you do them again and again, and uncertainty stops feeling like danger. It kind of removes itself in the first place. After you've done something 30 or 40 times, you don't even think about being confident anymore or needing motivation to start. You just do it. And that's what happened to me in Sekiro as well. I'm gonna mention it just like everyone who preaches Sekiro does. I'm gonna mention Genichiro. The first time I fought Genichiro, I thought that everything he did was overwhelming and a bit unfair and just punishing for the sake of being punishing. But 20 attempts or so later, he was still doing the exact same things. The fight hadn't changed. I had. Not because I suddenly became fearless or a genius player. I just stopped expecting fear to disappear before I acted. And I think that distinction really matters. Because there are things in life where waiting is wise, right? There are big decisions in your life that deserve the time to reconsider. But there are also moments where waiting is just a more comfortable way of avoiding the fact that we already know what we need to do. And the longer we wait, the heavier that thing becomes. A 5-minute conversation can sit in your mind for days. A small decision can follow you around for months. You haven't avoided this discomfort by waiting. You've just spread it out over a long period of time. And a game like Sekiro doesn't really give you this option. The attack is coming, and you cannot ask the game to pause until you become a more confident version of yourself. You have to respond as the person you are now. And I think maybe that's what I actually learned from it. You don't always need to feel ready. Sometimes readiness is just something we imagine we'll feel after we've waited long enough. But most of the time, nothing will change until we move. Sometimes there isn't another piece of information coming. There isn't a perfect moment. There isn't a version of you arriving tomorrow or next week, with no doubts and no fear. Sometimes the next step is already obvious, and there's only one thing left to do, is to take it. Sekiro just happens to kill you when you don't. Real life is usually quiet enough to let you hesitate for years.